So I'm sitting here and just reflecting on this past year, and I started to realize how much I've grown and that it's something I should be proud of. But then I also have this lingering thought in the back of my mind that it's also been one of the most painful years of my life. And I started to think there's a lot of pain involved with growing. When I hear about growth, I usually think about something that's exciting and positive, like a breakthrough moment or a dramatic transformation. That's why people love the idea of a New Year's resolution. We set a goal that we think will change our lives and make us look completely different by the end of the next year. But the growth I experienced was nothing like this. I don't have a dramatic before and after photo that I could post on my socials. When I reflect on how I've changed, I think about things I've let go, the time I spent questioning who I actually am, and all the moments when it felt like I was just stumbling through the dark. Social media makes us think that growth is a straight line, loud and flashy, but real growth is messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes deeply painful. At least that's what I experienced. And the pain is a necessary part of the process. To grow means to change, and change is naturally uncomfortable. Who doesn't want stability and familiarity? It's why we cling to routines and relationships that may not help us anymore. They're familiar and they make us feel safe. When we start to grow, we disrupt that sense of safety. And when that goes away, we start to feel anxiety or emptiness because we're changing our circumstances. We're changing ourselves. Think about starting a new habit, like waking up early to exercise. At first, it feels like you're losing sleep and comfort and whatever routine that you had before. Your body is probably resisting, and your mind tries to convince you it's a waste of time, and everything is telling you to give up. That discomfort is a natural reaction to change, but it doesn't mean that the change is bad. Growth is painful because we're getting rid of the old to make way for the new, and that's never easy. One of the hardest parts of growth is letting go of old habits, old identities, sometimes even people. These things might have defined us for years, shaping how we see ourselves and how we see the world. Letting them go feels like we're losing a part of who we are, even if it doesn't align with what we want to become. I learned this firsthand when my dad passed away last summer. He was such a strong presence in my life, even when we stopped talking every day. He and I share the same first names. I'm a junior and he was a senior. So my whole life, I felt like I had this name that I had to live up to become a better version of him. When he died, that part of my identity also felt like it went away. I wasn't just the eldest son anymore. I couldn't ask for his advice or for him to bail me out of a tough situation. Growing up meant stepping into roles that I wasn't ready for, like being the head of the house and taking care of my mom and my brothers. Letting that go initially felt like I was losing a part of myself and a connection to him. But as time passed, I realized that letting go didn't mean losing my connection. It meant honoring it in a new way. It meant that I outgrew that part of me. And outgrowing something doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that whatever you outgrew doesn't align with what you're turning into. This could be a job or a mindset or even a relationship. Maybe you've been friends with someone for years or even in love. But as you grow, you might realize that your priorities don't align. Outgrowing can be painful because it comes with a sense of nostalgia and guilt. You might feel like you're abandoning something or someone that was important to you at one point. But that's a sign that you're changing. It's not failure or betrayal. I experienced this with a group of friends that I've known since elementary school. As we grew older, especially in this year, it felt like we were going in different directions. They were prioritizing things and experiences that I wasn't. And at first, I tried to hold on. I thought if I could just bring them with me, we can keep things the way they were. But the truth is, you can't force somebody to grow with you in the same direction or even at the same pace. I started to notice that our conversations felt empty, like something was missing, and our friendship just wasn't the same anymore. I felt guilty for pulling away, like I should have done more to keep the friendship up, but deep down, I knew that holding on to it would have only held me back. Outgrowing that friendship felt like losing a piece of my childhood, leaving all those inside jokes and late nights of straight yapping. But over time, I realized that letting go wasn't about turning my back on them. It was about respecting what we had while making space for what's ahead. Some relationships aren't meant to last forever, and that doesn't make them any less meaningful. Growing up feels painful because it makes us face the reality that we can't carry everything and everybody with us as we move forward. Letting them go can feel like a step backward, like you're losing more than you're gaining. And that's probably the hardest part about progress. It's not always immediate or obvious. You put in the effort, but the rewards take time to show. And during that time while you're waiting, it can feel like all your hard work is for nothing. You're putting in this time and energy and sacrifices, but the results haven't caught up yet. It can make you feel like a failure. You might think, why am I even doing this? Nothing's changing. When I started therapy, it felt like I was digging up more pain than healing. My therapist was challenging parts of me that I believed in and associated myself with for years. And each session we talked about things I thought I had figured out or buried. It was painful and confusing. But I kept going to our sessions, and eventually I picked up on some subtle changes. I was kinder to myself, more patient with others, and less reactive in stressful situations. I was improving, but I just couldn't see it in the moment. All I could think about was what I was struggling with, and I couldn't see what I was gaining in the long term. And that's the key to navigating all the pain that comes with change. Instead of viewing progress as everything we're leaving behind, we have to think about how we're actually taking it and turning it into something new. I remember a couple months back when my wife asked me to help her repot one of the houseplants she was growing because it was growing like crazy. And I don't know anything about plants, okay? I've killed a cactus before. But while we were repotting it, she noticed there was some root rot. And if we wanted this plant to survive, we'd have to trim all those infected roots to give the healthy roots a chance. In the same way, if we want to keep building, it means that we have to let go of things that don't serve us anymore, even if it's painful in the moment. The discomfort and the grief are all part of the process of becoming something greater. If you're in a time in your life where you feel like you're progressing but it's painful, you need to realize a few things. It's okay to feel sad or uncomfortable. These feelings don't mean you're doing something wrong. They're just a natural part of the process. Remind yourself why you're changing in the first place. What's the bigger picture, and what are you working towards? It takes time. Trust the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Every time we move on from an old habit, or a mindset, or even a person, we make space for something new to take its place. The pain is a sign that you're becoming a more authentic version of yourself. Growth is hard, but it's also really beautiful. So keep going. Every day you're getting closer to who you're meant to be. Cool? Later.